super fun, and all about artisan cheese and more to melt your peaceful heart and toast your peaceful life. Coming to you from the Appalachian Mountains of southwestern Virginia, this is the Peaceful Heart FarmCast.
Hey, this is Scott Hall from Peaceful Heart Farm, and you are listening to the Peaceful Heart FarmCast.
Hello, everybody. Melanie Hall here. Hope you're doing well. The conversation today and every day revolves around the value of tradition, traditional homestead living, traditional raw milk products, and artisan cheese. Topics discussed here are designed to create new perspectives and possibilities for how you might add the taste of tradition to your life. And fall is in the air here in Southwest Virginia. For us, that means the air is much cooler. The leaves are still quite green, but that will be changing soon. Fall in the Appalachian Mountains is the height of the tourist season. What will it be like this year? Who knows? But the leaves don't care. They will do their thing, and it will be beautiful. Let me take a brief minute and say welcome to all the new listeners and welcome back to the veteran homestead-loving regulars who stop by the FarmCast for every episode. Thank you all so much for your patronage. I appreciate you all so much. This show is for you. So where have I been and what's going on at the homestead? Well, you might have noticed I haven't published a FarmCast episode in a couple of weeks. The first time I missed because I simply did not have the time, and last week I was in tremendous pain. I still am, in fact. It's nothing serious, but it is painful. Somewhere in my spine, around about the level, the second, third, fourth rib, I have some arthritic impingement on a nerve. I'm not sure which one, but I am sure that it really, really hurts. And pain can really drag you down. It's exhausting. My ability to think clearly is diminished, and so on. But this morning, I got up determined to go on with my life, and so here I am. And let's talk about what's happening on the homestead. Now, the biggest news has to do with the cows. We have added yet another animal to our homestead. She is a beautiful bred heifer named Rosie. We needed another milk cow for the spring, and so the search began for a Normandy bred heifer. The bad news is that there were none to be found. And the good news is we never give up and just moved on to looking for another breed that had A2A2 and good milking genetics. And that brought us to Rosie. Rosie is a Jersey, so now we have two of them. I know. We were going to sell butter at some point, so we would end up with only Normandys, right? So how did we come to add another one that we will also sell in the future? And sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. We need milk in the spring. That means we had to get whatever was available. We were committed to the A2A2, and Rosie is adorable and a great addition to our homestead. And who knows, maybe one of you will buy her when we've built up our Normandy stock and are ready to let her go. You'll definitely know everything about her life and her health if you listen to every episode. So you'll know we're not getting rid of her because she's a bad one. We're getting rid of her because we only want Normandys. But we have her right now, and we love her. The rest of the girls are doing fine. Violet and Buttercup came into heat yet again. So we know they are still not bred. And the best option at this point was to put the bull that we have already, to put the bull in with them and see if he can do the job that the AI is not accomplishing. Now we shall see in a few weeks if he was successful. So far, it looks like Cloud, Claire, and Butter are all bred, but we won't know for sure until the vet checks them. And that will happen next month. We were going to do it this month, but now that we have Rosie, we've decided to wait a little longer to make sure that we can check her as well. And I must say it's been a very frustrating breeding season for us. But that is just another day on the homestead. Challenges abound. You just deal with them. And so, we end up investing a bit more money so that we can provide the fresh milk for our customers in the spring. Right now, it looks like Claire, possibly Cloud, will be the only ones that will actually deliver in time for us to make our herd share milk commitments. And now Rosie. So that's the plan for the spring. So the quail. The last batch of baby quail chicks are doing well. They are in the penthouse now and getting bigger every day. We're going to keep all the hens and maybe a rooster or two from this batch. Yes, fall is in the air, and this winter we will be experimenting a little bit more with adding more light to their cages. The eggs have already dropped off, but hopefully we can get them to lay an egg or two throughout the winter. Now, last winter, once they stopped laying, they didn't give one single egg until later in March. Then the egg production bounced back to capacity within a week. And with the added hens and a little more light, we might just get a few eggs. We shall see. Let's talk about the donkeys. I know the donkeys are going to need another manicure soon, and that's always an unpleasant task, but needs to be done nonetheless. It's not so much that it's unpleasant as it is that Scott has to get into very uncomfortable positions for extended periods of time in order to get the job done. But like so many tasks on the homestead, it must be done, whether it is comfortable or not. You know, now that I think about it, that's not so different from cleaning house. Some of those tasks are much less pleasant than others, like cleaning the bathtub comes to mind. I mean, that's always awkward. Anyway, the donkeys had a good time a couple of weeks ago when a customer brought two of her children along when she was picking up her beef. And I put together a spontaneous homestead tour, and the donkeys were central to that. The young lady was the most interested in the animals. She even walked out into the field and braved the various moon pies to get a close-up encounter with Virginia, Luna, and Wendell. She only got a very brief time to lay hands on the calves before they decided to be elsewhere. But the donkeys, that's a different story. Donkeys are very, very friendly beasts. They love human attention. Once they got over the strangeness of a person they'd never seen before, they were grooving on the affection coming their way. Well, what about the sheep and the goats? Well, the sheep and the goats are doing well. We got yet another call from a neighbor last week or so about one of the goats was out on the road. I think I've mentioned that one doe that goes in and out wherever she chooses. And so far she hasn't gotten herself run over, and she's back with the herd again. The breeding ram that we have is a bottle-fed lamb from last year. So he's a favorite. He has 4 companions that were born this year. All of them are now in the field with the calves, and that means I get to see them every day, twice a day when I go out to give the calves their bottles of milk. It is such a pleasure to see Lambert grow up to be such a great ram. His dad just keeled over and died last winter. We have no idea why. It happens. But Lambert will pick up the slack beginning in just over a month. Did I mention that fall is in the air? And that means sheep breeding is closing in fast. Now that I think about it, I'm going to have to decide which ewes get bred and which not. Those chosen for breeding will need to be separated from the rest. We have, I believe, 5 new babies this year. And should we do 6 or 8? We had 8 last year. The plan has always been, though, for 6. So 8 worked out pretty well, though. So we shall see. So I have 8 that have given birth. I got those 5 new ones that definitely will come out of the mix. They will not get bred this year. Now, in the garden, I had a friend come over and pick a whole bunch of tomatoes to take home and make sauce. I gave her everything I had, and I got some great blueberry jam in exchange. We are both very happy. It is likely that I will not even grow tomatoes next year. I have canned 35 quarts of diced tomatoes and a couple dozen jars of tomato sauce. So what will I grow if I don't grow tomatoes? What will I grow in their place? To be determined. Potatoes were apparently planted too late to make a fall crop. I'll remember that for next year. When it pops up on the calendar, get it done. Don't wait another 4 weeks or more before getting them in the ground, which is what happened this year. Out of about 85 or 90 potato starts that I put in the ground, less than 10 have actually peeked their little leaves above the ground. Now, the cooler days are great for growing good potatoes, but it also means the frost is coming soon. Well, as I said, there's always next year. Get them in the ground earlier. The sunflowers, we harvested all of them, and they are currently hanging up in the attic over the commercial kitchen and cheese make rooms. I keep thinking about going up there to see how they're doing. But if I do that, it means that I will then have yet another task on my to-do list that will need to get done, like get the seeds taken out of the plants, get them laid out and dried. Anyway, if I procrastinate, they will still be there and the tasks will still need to be done. But if I procrastinate, I can keep my list shorter for just a little while longer. The illusion of being caught up with all of my tasks is then maintained. That's right. I can fool myself with the best of them. It will still need to be done. Let's talk about the peas. The Crowder peas are finally slowing down. I will likely plant even more of these gems next year. They are so easy to grow, and we love them. It looks like next year the garden may be really heavy on beans and peas. I also plan to grow English peas, perhaps even 2 crops of them. Green peas must be started early before it gets hot, and likewise, this cooler weather is ideal for growing a second crop. As far as beans, I'm pleased with the black, red, and white beans that I grew this year. These are all dried beans. So black beans that you do for your Mexican dishes, the red beans we do for our red beans and rice kinds of dishes. They're not kidney beans. They're smaller. They're small red beans. I think they're called Mexican red beans. And then the white beans are a kidney bean. They're like a white kidney bean. And again, I grow those I make this dish with escarole. It is awesome with these white beans. So the red and the white beans put on bumper crops that are just now getting ready to complete their cycle. And the black beans put on 1 crop and then they all died back. All of those plants completely died. So the other 2, they kind of died back, but then they came back strong with a second, somewhat smaller crop of great beans. I only had 2 beds of green beans and could have used many more. This is the one thing that people ask for at the farmer's market a lot. I've heard that there's no money in them at the market, but I'm going to grow some extra next year just to see why is that so. You know me. Got to find out for myself. One thing that I have in the garden that I have rarely talked about is the celery. It's coming along now, and I'm getting excited about harvesting some of it. This is another crop that looks like it won't produce very much income. But I will bring a few to the market anyway. Mostly, I just love to share the fruits of my labor. I will have plenty for myself as well. These lovely plants will get chopped up and put in the dehydrator. I've already used up everything that I dried from last year. There was a little mishap just about harvest time last year when the calves got in the garden and ate most of the celery. Yeah. This year I'm looking forward to building up my stores of dried celery. No calves. Now the culinary herbs, this was my first year to grow a significant amount of culinary herbs. And it's been a success for the most part. I've had lots of extras to sell at market, and I certainly have plenty of fresh herbs for cooking and lots of herbs to dry and store for later. This is an area that I want to expand on in the future. However, the next step there is to create a permanent location. So many of them are perennials or annuals and biennials that will reseed themselves. So they need a permanent location and, dare I say, an aesthetically pleasing area known as my herb garden. But where? Where is the perfect permanent location? We shall see. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the peppers. I love growing peppers. The problem with peppers is that just a couple of plants can produce so many peppers. I'm thinking of the hot ones right now. What do I do with so many serrano peppers? Anyone got suggestions? Some of the things I'm doing with them so far is canning, drying, and selling a few at the market. I've canned some of those great banana peppers that go so well on sandwiches, and the jalapenos are also great on sandwiches. And what about a mixed pepper blend? with hot and mild. Now that one didn't come out as hot as I would have liked. I'm going to do another batch of those and add more serrano peppers to the recipe. After all, I have a ton of them, so I can make a hot pepper mix. Now hanging up in my kitchen are 3 strings of cayenne peppers about 2 or 3 feet each. They are gorgeous. I simply threaded a sewing needle and threaded them one at a time, one after another, on the string. I put a fancy knot in the beginning, put one on the end so they won't slip off, and then I just hung the string over one of the handles on my cabinet in the kitchen. One strand is already pretty dry, and the other 2 are well on their way. I didn't have to do a thing except just what I said, string them up, hang them up. And I don't know if I will ever use that much cayenne pepper, but they sure make great kitchen decorations. I smile every time I look at them. Another experiment I'm doing this year is making pepper jam. I have all the ingredients, and I have the task popping up on my calendar for a couple of weeks now. Alas, I haven't gotten around to completing the task, but soon, very soon, that's going to happen. And I'll let you know how that turns out. So that's it for today's podcast. I didn't get to the creamery and the updates there. That will have to wait until next time. There is some great progress going on there. I hope fall is in the air for you as well and you enjoyed the virtual farm tour this week. The trials and tribulations of raising animals and vegetables are so worth it for us. We left the corporate world nearly 4 full years ago and have never looked back. Thank you so much for joining me as we make our journey. I hope you got a few ideas for yourself and how you might add a little bit of the homestead feel to your life. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please hop over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, give me a 5-star rating and review, or whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts. Give us a rating and a review. Also, please share it with any family or friends. That helps so much with the algorithm. That gets Apple to give it more prominent positioning in the searches. So please share it with family and friends who might be interested in this type of content. Thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. And until next time, may God fill your life with grace and peace.